Yeah. Welcome to the Oscar Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Arts Bar Podcast. How are
God, you really threw. I didn't know you were starting then.
We're in.
God, you didn't even. I know I did a clap, but you just absolutely dropped me in it.
We're all in.
I was like that, just stare at the phone.
What did you want?
It's all filmed on iPhone, this, by the way.
So if you want any sponsorship, Apple.
We actually did do a TV advert for O2 once because of our use of our iPhones and our O2 contracts.
I'll put a clip in now.
Oh, God. Me and Ben went to London and painted plates on an O2 advert. Yeah. If you ever want to search that, it's on YouTube somewhere.
How did you find the whole experience?
I was very sunburnt. I think I had heat stroke, and
was it like?
And we were
ago?
on the ale big time the night before with the McNally's. If you tuned in, we had a delicious meal in Elephant and Castle in a beautiful pub. A few too many drinks, a sticky toffee pudding, and then the next day we were on a film set.
They will be tuned in as well. I think when we accidentally leaked the first episode of this on Spotify just to check that our systems are all working again. And Joe collared me when we were having a pint and went, little secret episode of the podcast got released this week.
Love it, Joe.
Yeah, you are a true fan.
But we were on an O2 advert many moons ago. Me and Ben went to London because we use the iPhones that we've got for work to film gigs, exhibition stuff, all the material for artists. So O2 asked us to come down and talk about it. It's cool.
It was the first thing we bought as a
company.
We need decent
company phones. Yeah, sorry, you threw me there.
Sorry.
I'm back. We're back for the Arts Bar Podcast. Another week in sunny Hope Street.
It's actually quite nice today.
The last day of summer, potentially.
Yeah.
And Wilson has a new drink.
I do. So I got quite a big response to the matcha situation last week.
Yeah.
So I've asked the staff to make me something I haven't had before. Now, I believe it's missing an ingredient, which is always a great start.
It looks like it.
But I've got a Kinder Bueno iced.
You've got an iced latte, an iced Bueno latte.
Iced Bueno latte.
So what, hazelnut syrup, some chocolate latte. Did you go for oat milk, yeah?
Yeah.
He's an oat milk guy.
Now, I don't drink coffee anymore.
Oh, you don't, yeah? Oh, God.
So this is going to be
This is going to be a fun podcast. Go on.
I'm going to take a sip. That's delicious.
It looks delicious, to be fair.
That is delicious.
Is it sweet?
It's not as sweet as it looks with the chocolate dripping down the side, but that is delicious.
Well,
Just
there you
in
go,
time
guys.
for autumn.
For the last day of summer, you're enjoying a nice coffee. And boring old Al has stuck to a classic cappuccino.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Now, I haven't had a coffee for 4 years.
He's off the wagon.
That's going to be interesting, isn't it, later?
Why did you give coffee up?
I can't remember, really. I think I just stopped drinking it one day and I've just never gone back. You know,
I know a man that should give coffee up. And he stood just to the left of us. And he's just been to Cyprus on holiday. And his name's Ben Cosgrove. And he loves coffee. But he did have a terrible experience, didn't he, in Berlin?
He did. Oh, my goodness, he did.
And it wasn't like coffee, like daytime coffee related, was it? What was it?
Right. We've been in Berlin for 6 days. We went to see Kendrick Lamar.
Yep.
And we extended the trip.
Yeah.
And on the last night, it was absolutely bouncing it down with rain. So we ended up stuck in this cocktail bar. But it was near the flat, so me and one of the other lads went upstairs to get some stuff ready for getting on the plane at 6 a.m.
What, so you went back to Pack?
I went back to Park, get sorted, thought we'll go out for some tea, whatever, but we've had 5 days on the booze here. So.
What, so you were going back out? You'd gone up to Pack, then you were going back out?
We were going to go for a few drinks, but we were going to be chilled. We had a real heavy few days of it. And Ben and a few others decided that they didn't really want a Pack, so they wanted to stay in the cocktail bar underneath the apartment. And I came back down about 2 hours later, and I think he'd had 12 espresso martinis. 12? Ben, how many espresso martinis? Upwards of 10.
Upwards of 10, he said from off camera there.
So he had 12 espresso martinis. One of our other mates had about 12 whiskey sours. So never mind the whiskey, the 12 raw eggs had gone into his body. And, they were battered, whatever, right? So we did the night.
He was hyped up on coffee.
He was ready to go. Now, we went to bed that night, went out for a few more drinks, bit of food, went to bed that night, had some fun. Excuse me. Went to bed that night and it was minus 12 outside, so it was really, it was cold, middle of March, cold in Berlin. And I was sharing a room with Ben. And I woke up at like 5 a.m. and the door was wide open and it was freezing. I was like, Ben? And he just had his head out of the door onto the balcony and was just panting, going, I'm just right hot. I'm just right hot. So I went, I know, mate, but it's minus 12. Do you really want to shut the door?
Mate.
So he didn't sleep all night. I mean, it's like he'd taken something a bit of a higher class.
But it was just
if you know what I
coffee.
mean. It was just coffee. Got on the train to the airport, and me and him were stood facing the door for people to get on, and it opened for like the second stop, and this bloke on a tricycle got on.
Oh, right.
Asked us a few questions in German, obviously. Didn't understand what he was saying.
But he's really ramped up the crampedness of this train with his tricycle, yeah.
And I think just the interaction sent Ben west.
Yeah.
So I just went, yeah.
We've all been there, haven't we, when you're when there's no seats left and you stood by the door on a Merseyrail and someone gets on with a bike or a pram, sometimes a pram,
Which
and
is
you go,
fine.
oh, God.
People have got to have babies. Or else we won't be here. That's fine.
Yeah.
Bikes, however.
Yeah. Kids' bikes.
And just this interaction sent him west, and he went green, like fully green, took all his clothes off down to a vest, t-shirt vest thing.
He was wearing a vest.
It was minus 12.
Oh, right, okay.
Put his wrists to the window to cool down, and then the other lads were sat further down the train. So I'm going, you're all right, Ben, you're all right, we're okay there. And I walked straight down the train and went, we're going to need to seek some medical attention here, because I've never seen him this bad. So we got off at the next stop,
Yeah.
got him a Fanta.
All right, bit of a sugar kick.
Yeah, managed to get him on the plane,
Right.
got him home.
Yeah.
And then he just started seeing his lovely girlfriend, Kimberly,
Yep.
at the time. So this was maybe like 2 months in. And he said he went home, invited her around, which I thought was a bad move, but it must have been a good move because they're still together and very happy.
Yep.
And he said he watched Lilo and Stitch for 2 days while she stroked his head.
Oh, well, what an open to this episode. A little tale about Ben and his coffee overdose.
It was quite scary.
Jesus.
Quite scary. Anyway, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, good. Another
It's been
Monday.
it's been a good response to us being back, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. It's been nice. Nice little clips going out on socials, and people are tuning in on YouTube and stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's like a little therapy session, like I said.
It is,
We
yeah.
get to sit and have a chat.
So today we've got a couple of questions coming through for Bar Talk. I think we're going to save them till later on. I just wanted to kind of finish our catching people up to speed on where we're at and talk about summer and what we've been doing over this summer. It's notoriously quite a difficult time for hospitality in Liverpool, I think, across the board.
Yeah.
The city quietens down for a mixture of reasons. Students leave the city. You've got gigs and bands and festivals going on elsewhere. You've got the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. You've got people going on holiday.
Yeah.
And I think the city almost feels like it's shrunk a little bit in size.
It's crazy I was actually talking to a taxi driver the other week about, it's funny, like you share, when you get in a taxi and you own a bar and you share similar worries when the city's quiet, don't you? Because you're like, they're quiet, you're quiet. And I was like, it's crazy to think like what this city would actually be like if it didn't have this many universities and students. But yeah, the city does really shrink from June, July to September, doesn't it? That added to the fact that people go on summer holidays and they save money before they go on summer holidays, and they come back and they've got no money because they've been on a summer holiday. And also added to the fact that us specifically is creatives go to Glastonbury and play at it, and they go to the Edinburgh Fringe and perform at it. So people are like rehearsing and fundraising and then going to festivals. So yeah, for us particularly, August is just usually a really quiet time. So it's the first time we've decided to go, right, we're just going to shut for a week, and then sort of put in a plan in motion in terms of renovating and what jobs that we want doing.
In previous years, we've tried to either overload it with events and try to really force it.
Well, I think the first year we'd really tried to push the events, so we'll put a load of events on and make it busy. And then the second year we scaled it right back and went, right, not going to do any events, and we're going to really scale the sort of costs back. And then this year we've gone, right, let's just do a mixture of both. Let's try and do a little bit of a scaling back, a little bit of push some events, and then we'll shut for an entire week to do some renovations. The renovation wise, like, we're open 10 a.m. till midnight, 7 days a week. So in terms of actually doing painting, tiling, ripping things out, all that sort of stuff, like, you can change furniture and you can change different bits like that. But actually, those types of things where you need to be shut, we can't do them throughout the year. So it's good to go, right, we're going to have a week where we can really mess the place up a bit and not get in people's way. We do, like, we change the odd bit here and there, don't we, when we're open.
This was a really messy one this time, wasn't it? It's a job that we've been wanting to do for a while. When we inherited the bar or took over, there was some big booths that were made by a bloke that was 6'7". So no one's feet touched the ground because he built it to his legs.
His legs were swinging on a bench.
I mean, they were lovely benches, very well made. They just were too big for anyone.
Yeah.
So we're like, forever we've been going, it's not practical to have them here.
I think actually, like, we had like 3 days when we actually, Hope Street wise, we had 3 days when we took it on to turn it into what we wanted to turn it into. And then the next time that come around was COVID. We shut and we had time to go, right, we're going to change this, we're going to do that, we're going to change that.
We did the mural in COVID, didn't we?
And then I actually don't think we've done anything since then.
No.
So this time around shutting for, I think we shut for 4 days, didn't we? And it was ripping, we knocked a wall down, we've put tiles down for a kitchen that's going in, we did the bathrooms up, we painted the entire venue, and there's just things that you can't do if the doors are open and customers are in. So
it got so messy.
Yeah, we actually, like, the jobs got piled on, didn't they, like, day by day. So we were only supposed to do like one, it was paint, refresh, paint the place and sort the kitchen out. And then we decided, me and Tom, to knock a wall down.
That is 100% our fault.
Yeah.
The other two
they were nowhere near it. But we decided we were taking all the old booths out, putting new seating in. And when we took the old booths out, we realised that one of the walls was a false wall. And it actually just sort of blocked the venue off, didn't it? So we just took a couple of hammers to it, and the lads come back from getting a butty and weren't very happy with us. But now they thought it's great.
If you've ever been in on a busy night, on like a Friday or a Saturday, when you first get to the corner of the bar, there's like a real bottleneck, and which is it just naturally where everyone comes in and tries to get served or goes to the toilet or goes to the terrace. And actually what it's done now is it's opened up the whole venue, so it feels more like cohesive, like you're not just stuck in the library section that was quite closed off. You can get through, stops all the snoggers.
Well, it doesn't, apparently. So the library used to be famous for snogging, didn't it? It was a little secret hideaway bit where people would go in on a bit of a romantic date and have a cheeky snog. And you'd constantly be getting complaints from the team members or even other customers being like, they're snogging in there. It's getting a bit raunchy in the library. It always was the case.
So we thought... What was everyone's issue with the snogging?
I mean, it's one of them, innit?
Love is love, man.
Love is love. I get where you're coming from, but there's a time and a place, isn't there? There's been a couple of times. There's a young couple that came in once and they were in the back booth and I had to go over and I ended up smacking my hand on the bench. Not anywhere else, on the bench and going, pack it in, guys. And then they just both looked at me and looked embarrassed, and then I went back to the bar. But like, there's a time and a place, innit? You're not in the middle of a nightclub.
Oh my God.
You're not.
You sound like a dad now.
I am though. Like, you're out enjoying yourself. You can't be like all over each other, snogging each other.
Heavy petting.
Yeah.
You get like, come on.
There's been a few, hasn't there? The library was famous for I think the library's famous for affairs. I think it is. I think there's been a couple of affairs in there. You know, when people come in on like a secret date.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know whether we should be talking about this, but yeah.
I don't know. But like, you can tell. You know when two people come in and you can tell like they're not married or they're not together, but they've met up, really excited to meet up with each other, and then they find like the place that they can hide away the most, and they're the ones that are always having a snog and heavy petting
at like 2 p.m.
Yeah, and they're always a little bit older. They are, and it happens. It doesn't just happen on Hollyoaks, guys. It happens here too.
We used to have it in a pub that I used to work in. I won't name names, the Philharmonic dining rooms. And in the back bit, every lunchtime there'd be like an affair couple there. Yeah.
I don't think people know that, but bars
lunchtime.
are famous for affairs.
Yeah.
Because they meet up, they have a couple of cocktails together, and probably back to a hotel that's been booked. And they're both away on work. It happens. It's part of life. It's a part of life, guys.
It's not Hollyoaks. It's not just on Hollyoaks.
I know it happens on Hollyoaks, but it happens here too. The Arts Bar.
What were we talking about?
Knocking the wall down in the library.
Oh, yeah. So anyone coming for an affair?
We're on to you. We're on to you.
Think again. We'll report you.
We'll find out who you are. Only joking. Come in and enjoy your affairs.
Do what you want.
We've knocked this wall down, and we thought that'll stop the snogging in the library. But I just got a text the other night from one of the supervisors saying, turns out knocking the wall down didn't stop the snogging, just means we can see it now. So
Love is love.
the snoggers have carried on.
Love is love.
Love is love. So yeah, we came in, we've ripped the old booths out, we've put new seating in, brightened the place up, give it a lick of paint. The toilets have been tiled, and the most exciting bit is that a kitchen is going in.
Yep.
And the same food offering in the Baltic will be available in Hope Street. We have danced around food for years here.
It's scary, isn't it? It's scary.
Honestly.
I think everyone,
People listening to this podcast that have been regulars since day one will know the list of crazy food adventures that we've had. We started with gluten-free vegan pies from across the road, which were delicious.
Yeah.
But we had a little pie warmer, some little paper plates. We did pie, mushy peas, gravy. Which was just mad, wasn't it?
Some people still come in and ask for it.
Ryan Byrne, if you're listening, he used to love a vegan pie coming on his lunch. So we used to have the gluten-free pie company would do pies for us, and it was just like you come in and get a pint, and have a pie. When we first took over, I love this. So we took over, and the bar used to be an afternoon tea place, and we actually, when we bought all the stock, we were left with an abundance of baklava, the Turkish dessert pastry, like a pistachio-filled pastry. Yeah. And on a Friday night, when me and Tom and Jordan, Ben were behind the bar, Friday, Saturday night, we'd do an hour where if you bought half a lager, you'd get a slice of baklava. And we called it half a lager baklava on a Friday and Saturday night. And people went mad for it. They go, like, you're doing the half a lager baklava. And you just look around the room and there'd be people having a slice of baklava and a little half a lager. We did that. Gluten-free pies.
Yeah.
Then we did the mad tray of sandwiches, the little butty tray that we had. Bought sandwiches from a catering company, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not speak too much about that. That was bad.
We had sandwiches. Then it was tacos. We were taco or don't at the library space.
Yeah.
They used that, which was a proper quirky, like, new thing that we were trying out. But I think it was just a bit too hidden away next to all the snoggers in the library.
We did a few specials on the terrace with what's Steve's company called?
You should know.
Wong Dumplings.
Wong Dumplings. Steve?
The reason I forgot the name is
Steve, if you're watching this.
The reason I forgot the name is because they had to change it, remember?
They did. Let's not get into that.
We won't get into that. But Wong Dumplings are now based in Media City in Salford in that food market. They're doing really well. And that was actually really nice. I think they were just starting out their business and wanted to do a couple of pop-ups. And they had their own gear, and it was summer, and we did a few on the terrace. That was really nice. It's just not sustainable, is it? Like, I think that the moral was, it's all very well.
We never had a kitchen, did we?
Never had a kitchen. Never had anywhere to
It was always like
properly.
pop-up-y type stuff or countertop type, like the pies and the sandwiches and stuff on like countertops on the bars. But it was just never like, we either never had enough of it, or there wasn't enough of demand for stuff like that. But we're going for the same menu as the Baltic. So you're going to be able to get your hands on big loaded sandwiches. The big Baltic stacks are coming up here. Some salads, a scouse, vegan.
Tell us a story behind the stack a little bit, because it's really cool. Like, you kind of went away and developed this idea.
Yeah.
I think it really works, and it ties us in with being a dock city and
Yeah,
and it's a really nice idea.
The stack sandwiches that we sell are a sort of paying homage, a tribute to. There's a famous sandwich in Pittsburgh called the Primanti Brothers have a famous sandwich where they have like a meat. You select your meat, then it has like a slaw on it, salad, and then it has homemade fries on it. So. Basically, the story behind it was that the Primanti brothers would feed the steel workers in the city, and they never had time to have like a meal. So the Primanti brothers built this sandwich that was a full meal on a sandwich. And sort of I was looking around Liverpool and looking at what different people were doing, and we knew we wanted to do like a sandwich or something like handheld so that it could be at gigs and things like that. We didn't have to have like sit-down cutlery meals. We knew we wanted to go down that sort of New York-y type American sandwich style. I'd been to New York just a bit earlier, hadn't I, and come back with a couple of ideas of
You've been to New York?
Yeah, I have, yeah. I come up with a couple of ideas of like, oh, we could do this, and then I'd researched and then worked with a guy in the Baltic, George, who did some branding stuff with me, and we worked on this idea that there was the stack sandwich, that no one else in the city was doing it, and that you could add these big homemade fries to your sandwich and make it a big, massive, hearty meal on a sandwich. And they are class.
Yeah.
And we had just changed over our bread to Plattsville Bakery. And they're going to be these big, like, soaked bread, homemade fries, sandwiches. You get a chicken parm, you can get salt and pepper chicken, a Scouse favourite, loads of different ones, and you'll be able to get them up here.
Yeah.
But it's cool, it's nice, and the chef going in the kitchen is my father, which was another story in itself, wasn't it, in terms of kitchens, and it's really nice to have my dad in there. We fight like cat and dog.
No,
we do fight like cat and dog. It's funny, you know. Shout out to, there's a company at the moment that I've been following loads on social media called Cornhill Coffee. I don't know if you've seen much of them.
Yeah.
And they are mother and daughter of the Baltic Fleet. Have opened a little pop-up coffee cart, like a cart outside the Baltic Fleet. And it's really nice to go past and see like mother and daughter working together, and they're always so buzzing to see customers. And I went on Saturday morning and got a coffee and said, how he's getting on, and I said it's lovely I walk to work every day and see that there's more and more people outside every day. And I was like, how he's getting on working together. And as I know it from working with my dad that we just have a different relationship, don't we? And it's funny when you see team members come in and the way me and him speak to each other, and people are like, and you have to end up going like, it's his dad, it's okay.
Yeah. What's funny is your dad wants to try loads of stuff at once, and we'll wind him up. Well, not even wind him up. I'll encourage you. I'm up for his ideas, but you're like, listen, let's just take it nice and slow. We'll try this idea, let it develop, add stuff. And you went away for a week, and then when we got back, we had arancini balls on the menu.
It's a joke. He will try anything, wants to try everything and see how it goes, which is great.
It was so
there's
nice.
a level of, yeah. I came back, and what it was creme brulee. Now, anyone who's listening that is a Baltic goer, they will know that there was a week or two where people were having creme brulee.
Yeah, but little kind of, if you got a coffee, you'd do like a little saucer of it, and it'd be a perfect amount just to have a coffee or a
creme
cup of
brulee
tea and a little teaspoon of creme brulee.
But I come back from my holiday and walked in, and the first 3 tables that I saw was people having coffees and creme brulees. And I remember just losing my head and going in the kitchen. I came over to you and was like, why are people having creme brulee? And you just went, none of us could say no to your dad.
I can't say no to you.
So I went in the kitchen and was like, why are people having creme brulees? And then we had a fight.
He's so cute though.
And there's no creme brulee anymore. So if you want creme brulee, I'll put this out there now, actually.
Let's do a poll.
I'll put this out there now. If you want the Arts Bar to sell creme brulee, and whether that is because you love creme brulee or you just want to shaft me and you're a Team Frankie, let's do a poll. You message in. If I get more than 20 people say that they want creme brulee on the menu, I'll take it back.
And you've got to share the podcast.
Yeah, you have to. Like, subscribe and share.
But all joking aside, I think what he's brought to us is loads of stability, and it's so nice to be able to trust that someone's in there with your best interest at heart and the kind of businesses and theirs as well. Like, we all look after each other now, like we have all done for years. you know, everyone that works for us, you kind of all do become a massive family.
Yeah.
And I know this is literally family now, but it's just having each other's back and trying to work towards a goal together.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's easier said than done most of the time, innit? Because there's so many external factors.
I'd say that's probably like, as a hospitality owner, that is probably the biggest struggle in terms of, not the biggest struggle. The thing that you want most is for your team to care as much as you care. And it's hard because you obviously care ridiculous amounts. And I think that where we benefit is the fact that everyone that works here is creative and is passionate about what's going on in the scene creatively. So our team, because they are all creatives, they all do care a little bit more than normal sort of bartenders, normal baristas. Like if you just had a job in Costa, do you really care that much about Costa and, you know, the service and things like that? But whereas here, I think we get a lot of compliments on our team because they actually care about the venue and the scene, and they want to know about you as a customer and what you're doing and what projects you've got on, and they want the venues to do well because they know that they sort of benefit from it themselves in terms of creatively. They get what they need out of it as well.
Yeah. But it means that we also ask a bit more of people of like some of the unwritten stuff. So obviously there's rules and regulations and what like in every business.
Yeah.
We ask for just a bit more of that like personality as well. Like in terms of like we want you to be interested in this as well. Yeah. Like as a story. I think
it's funny, like the last big recruitment drive I'd done was for assistant managers in both venues. And a lot of the stuff we do is in-house and like to always promote from within. But this time round, it was sort of looking for someone who could come in who, one, had a really keen eye for hospitality and service. But the really important thing was knowing that person who come to the team gets it and gets what the venue is and knows the scene and knows people in it. And I remember in one day, I interviewed this guy and I think he must have had 12, 13 years of hospitality experience. He was much more skilled cocktail bartender than I am. He knew the bar inside out in terms of he knew bar work inside out. But in terms of that creative side, I knew from talking to him that this guy wouldn't care about when the open mic was on, about when there's different nights that we know that need some support from our team. I knew that they wouldn't care as much. And I remember interviewing Holly, who is stood to the left of us, and I don't know if she can hear me. But she won't mind me saying this, she wasn't as experienced as other people that we'd interviewed, but I knew that she cared the same way that we care about the events that go on in the scene and the people in it. And you can see that now when people walk in, everyone knows her name. She knows everyone's name. And we went to the Jack the other week to the plaque unveiling. She knew more people at it than we did, and you knew that it was instantly like, oh, it's a perfect fit for the venue. And the same then in Baltic, we promoted from within and went with Luke because he'd come in and impressed as a supervisor, and you could see that he cared and wanted to grow with the company and wanted to sort of get to know more people and take more responsibility on, but he cares about the scene and the people in it.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And I think it's taken us a long time to get that in our heads, that's what we're actually looking for, because we've always had that style of member of staff. I don't think we've ever verbalised it and gone, we're going to actively search for it. It's always just been, as we've promoted from within, we've just seen them traits in people.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that. And, you know,
then it's like you're saying there, like it's the same in the kitchen, isn't it? So it's all well and good having the sort of forward-facing team members who are serving people at the bar and waiting on tables. Like, they have to be the people that are creative and want to talk to you about your projects that you've got going on and want to tell you about what they've got going on outside of Arts Bar, and might be a dancer, an actor, a musician, and let people know about their gigs. But in the kitchen, you've got my dad, who cares like ridiculous amounts because it's us. And he wants it to do well and works his socks off to make sure that we're getting the best out of what we can get. And then the only other member of staff in the kitchen is little Francis. So 2 Frankies in the kitchen, and Francis is an actor. And when we interviewed him, he had cook experience and chef experience, but let us know in the interview that he wants to be an actor. And We were like, yeah, this is great.
He's in a show at the minute, the Everyman, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Let's go in the Ev.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Doing the Yep Directors Festival, doing a show in that. But
There's loads of shows actually in that,
Yeah.
which should be worth checking out for
100%.
people. And if you're over this end, come in and drop in and say
Yeah.
hello. It's been an all right summer this year. I think we've got to terms with who we are, what we need to do, and where we're at.
Yeah.
And then looking forward over the next couple of months, just want to kind of mention a couple of the things that we've got coming back up that we've enjoyed launching over the last few
Yeah.
years. So one of the big ones is our battle,
yeah,
our battle of the bands.
we don't call it a battle of the bands, do we?
no,
Really, it's the Arts Bar battle because actually, like, we don't want to restrict it to just that. Oh, it's just bands, and I think Battle of the Bands is often associated with like metal and.
It's a very rock band formula.
Yeah, but it isn't what we're doing, is it? But it is a battle. It is the same sort of premise, but it's for solo artists. It's for groups, and it's just about coming and showing off original music and what you've been doing, and it's just a good platform for people to showcase what they've been doing.
Some of the best nights we've had are the battle nights because
Yeah.
it's 3 different artists or bands or musicians
Yeah.
or rappers, and it's
Well, last year's winner was a solo artist, wasn't it? Danelia?
Denelia.
Yeah, she was
Backed
with
by a band,
yeah,
but
full
yeah.
band behind her, but her music is solo artist.
She's also on the Lymph Academy this year, just announced as well.
Yeah.
So what's nice is seeing
that growth.
the growth through,
Yeah.
through the project. It was nice just to see everyone supporting each other as well. I mean,
It was nice to see an all-female final.
yeah,
Which was amazing to see. The battle last year, it was 24 artists, so we had over 100 people apply. So the way it works is £1,000 cash prize for the winner, and we had over 100 people apply. We got 24 finalists, and that's based on availability massively, how local you are to the city, original work. But yeah, it was based on can you commit to these dates over the next 2 months, really, wasn't it?
it's actually quite difficult to program.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at everyone basically plays. If you make it right through to the final,
It's 13 events in total, isn't it?
13 nights,
So
and
it's-
each event's about 4 hours long.
Yeah.
So you're looking at quite a big period of time.
If you make it, you'll end up doing 3 gigs.
Basically, if you win,
Yeah.
or if you get to the final, you'll have done 3 gigs.
Yeah. So it's making sure that everyone that enters can make their way to the final, basically.
Yeah.
So that was a massive factor in sort of the programming of it. Because I've had a few people ask, like, how do you choose out of the 100 people? How do you choose 25% of that? And it is massively down to the fact that are you available to do these dates all the way through? And that's the easiest way of programming
Yeah.
it, really, isn't it?
And then you look at kind of style and what some of the bands that entered didn't have any songs out or anything on SoundCloud or Instagram, so it's really difficult to say.
But it was
yes.
all about original stuff, wasn't it?
About
So-
original music. It's about trying to promote different genres as well.
Yeah.
So it's trying to be as eclectic as we can into giving people a voice and a chance. Seeing some availability and seeing some kind of commitment. So like if you're a band and you're just starting and you've got nothing out, it's really difficult for us to program that in the battle. Like it's really nice.
It's really
outside
easy
the
for us to
battle.
program that with you in terms of normal gigs.
Yeah.
And
we can
we're
be a
always
platform to try it, but in terms of a competition and what you're trying to bring to it, because obviously it relies on you pushing it, sharing it, bringing you all to it.
That's what I really enjoy in terms of my role, Arts Bar wise, is a lot of the branding and marketing stuff. So actually, like working with the artists through the last battle. A lot of 25% of the vote is done as an online vote. So before 24 hours before your gig even starts, there's an online link that you can send out. But it's all in an effort from me to get the artists to promote themselves. I think it's really important to let grassroots artists know how important it is to be sharing your stuff on social media. As much as you might come across as a bit of a beg and being like, oh God, I'm sharing my own stuff again. You've got to do it, otherwise people aren't going to see it. And you never know, like you put a post out and someone new shares it and 10 new people see it and they're interested by it and like the sound of it. That's the only way you're going to grow your stuff.
And being creative with it. Have you seen Dr. Orange's Instagram?
Yeah, it's funny, man.
So Dr. Orange, a mate of ours, Chaz, is releasing his debut album, and to accompany it, he's doing a gig in the Cavern.
Yeah.
And some of his Instagram stuff has been amazing recently. I mean, he kind of hijacked a Queen of Scotty Road interview the other day.
Yeah.
Queen of Scotty Road were asking, if you don't know who that is, check them out on TikTok. It's very funny. We're interviewing him and a couple of mates on the street, and straight away he just plugged the gig straight away. And Queen of Scotty Road were like, plugging your gig on this.
Yeah.
But just being aware that
I've only been hiding oranges.
he's been. Yeah, I think there's a plan to hide oranges. I'm not sure how much he wants me to talk about it, but just some of the thinking outside the box and
yeah, you've just got to be interested
yeah.
with. So my partner Sienna is an actor, and we were talking. We went out for tea on Saturday night, and we were talking about what do you want to do and what's next project and what's coming up. And she makes TikToks, and it's just like daily life, like what if she's going to the gym, if she's just gone for a walk on the docks and stuff. And she stopped making them because work had got busy again. And I'd said to her, like, keep going with them, because you actually never know. And I know it's just like a daily life, like vlog, or you're just walking around the docks, or you go in the gym, or you're going to work, or you in rehearsals. But she was filming it all, and in my head I was like, it's just an advert, isn't it? You never know who's watching that. That might be like a casting director might come across that and see you and like the look of you, and then you walk into an audition, they've already seen your face. And I was like, keep doing them. Keep working on them.
Also, a lot of the time shows that you don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
I know that, like...
But I think like, it's a platform that people didn't have years ago, so now it's a platform. Use it. Don't be a person that goes like, oh, I'm not doing that. Like, if another person is going to do it, then they might have more chance of...
Just means there's more exposure there.
Yeah.
You can the personality comes across, and you can almost...
Don't get me wrong, there is the other side of it where it's like, you know, they could have seen your face before and not liked it because of what it was, the content that you were putting out. But if it's actually like just general stuff, and people are getting a genuine look at you as a person and who you are, if they've already seen you before you've walked into a room, that's half the battle.
I really wish we'd have documented all the refurbs.
Yeah, we always say that. We always get like 20 minutes into like hammering stuff down or like painting something, and Tom goes, we should have filmed this. And we're like, oh yeah.
We just should. I mean, some of the bands at the minute are doing a really good job. Like Red Rum Club are absolutely smashing it on socials. And actually some of it is just getting to a gig. But it's the way that you see a bit of an insight. It's the good stuff that people don't see, isn't it? Like, it's funny, like that. Obviously, Oasis at the moment. All I've wanted to watch since the Oasis tickets have come out, and since the Oasis stuff, I've just wanted to watch Supersonic since. Did you get tickets?
We did get tickets, didn't we? Yeah,
we did.
Much to a lot of people's dismay.
We've been trying not to talk about it. Really.
To be fair, mate, I had about 100 tabs open for 2 days. And then was sitting there at 8 o'clock in the morning and refreshing all these tabs, and then when it came up, I was already in a queue, and we were quite lucky, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I know a few of our friends have got them, and it's great, and a lot of people haven't. Sorry, but yeah, since that announcement's come out, all I've wanted to do is watch Supersonic, because Supersonic was such a brilliant insight into the behind the scenes. Like, there isn't much of gigs. Like, you don't actually listen to much of their music in that.
You can't believe so much exists, can you?
No,
From 95.
A lot of it's like the story of them on the ferry when they end up having a fight on the ferry with people and stuff. But there's stuff that like, and it's all like the behind the scenes stuff, which now you've got this platform where you can go, oh, watch us behind the scenes. Do it. I don't know why we don't.
I don't know why we don't.
Well, we're doing it now.
We're doing it now. This is part of us trying to do that.
If you want to watch a 24-hour live stream of Ben on his laptop, click the link below now.
So, we're bringing back the battle. That'll be really fun. We'll release some details about how to apply in the next couple of weeks. Let's let everyone get back into normal life after summer.
Yeah.
Student nights are going to start back up on a Monday. They have always been fun, and we're kind of reformatting them. Yep. So you'll be able to get here on a Monday, drinks deals. We'll have a band that you can sing with, play
trying
with.
To make it a bit more interactive, and not in terms of, and it being that we want to brand it as Arts Bar House Party, and it's about coming out on a Monday night, and before you go out to nightclubs and things like that, you come and enjoy it. The Raz, where we would go every Monday. Come here, and if you are a musician and you play or you sing, there's an opportunity to get up and play with. You can play guitar, you can play whatever with the band, and sing along. And it's that sort of community feel, Arts Bar house party, everyone's involved. It's going to be a lot of fun, that.
I think some of the staff are trying to come up with some fun bar games and
Cool.
best dressed and theme them, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
going
yeah,
to be it's going to be a bit of a growing project rather than it just being a student night. Going to look at doing an immersive thing that's quite fun, and you can get
I think
involved.
it's that community feel of like, doesn't have to be students, it's about creatives, and Monday nights is your house party night, and if you want to come along and have a good time and meet other creatives, that's the place to do it.
Defo.
Yeah, we've got that coming back. We've got Supper Club down the Baltic, which is a lovely little event, which is live music on a Wednesday night where you can get a great deal with food and drink. You get a bottle of wine, a cocktail.
Tonight's one is UK Now Carib.
Wednesday nights. Oh, yeah.
See what I did there?
Wednesday nights.
Tonight's.
Beep, 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 beep. Beep that out. Yeah, we've got Supper Club. We've got some exhibitions coming back with some new artists.
If anyone wants to apply to play for Supper Club as well, just drop us a message. We've got quite a few in the pipeline already. It's kind of about trying to get that mix between sitting down and having a chill, watching some chill music. We don't mind if you throw some original
What we
material
want is people are sitting down having food, but you're getting them out their seat.
Yeah.
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 They're glued to the seat because of the food, but you're trying your
How do
best
you
to
get
get
'em
them out their seats. That's what I want.
Fair.
Cool. Should we do a bit of bar talk?
Yes. So we've started a new segment called Bar Talk, where we take questions from you amazing people.
We decided to pick two. We had quite a few questions sent in, but we picked two, and we're going to roll the other questions over to next week. And if you've got any more, send them over, please do.
Yeah.
The first one, should we go with the events?
Yeah, so the first one is from Mike Bainbridge, and I'm just going to read it as is. I'm a session musician for various bands around the city and built up a few contacts during the past few years of gigging and playing with different people. Where would I start in setting up my own gigs for local musicians and get more into the promo side of things?
Cool.
So,
I think that really sits with you, doesn't it? Tom
really does.
is the sort of events programmer, Arts Bar wise, so I'm sure Tom can help.
yeah, so Mike, it's a great question, and it's also one that I kind of get asked quite a lot when people are coming back to the city, maybe doing like an events program or maybe wanting to put on their own gigs. There's a couple of ways of doing it. I think there's some really good promoters in Liverpool, and the traditional route is you book a space that's hireable, you program some bands, you put a fiver on the door, and you go from there really, and you pay the bands out of what you make and you cover your cost. That's a great way of doing it, and so many people do that, and I think you might theme it so a lot of people go, well look, this is a punk night,
Yeah, like acoustic night or
acoustic night, new music night,
Yeah.
can be single launch, I'm
Yeah.
going to help my friend release their EP, however that looks.
Yeah.
That's a traditional way of doing it, and there's plenty of people in Liverpool that are doing it. I mean, Vesso does all the stuff for the Jack overall. I know Johnsy Shots runs their own events all the time. There's so many. Prohibition Studios is hireable. If you're very confident and you've got a bit of money put away, you could hire the back room with a fill. I know that Acoustic Liverpool do a lot of gigs there. There's tons and tons of organisations that are still grassroots that are putting on them style of events and really pushing what it means to be a promoter in the city. You've got your big dogs, you've got your Evols, you've got your even like Sound City to some extent.
I guess for that size is something that if you were looking at doing something in the sort of back of the fill or those big venues, it's about making sure that you've got a budget for marketing and making sure that you can promote it well enough.
Yeah.
And also then leaning on the venue to be like, can we do this collaboratively, and can the venue support in terms of how they promote, because they'll have a big mailing list or a big, people that come all the time. So it's about sort of making sure that if you are going to take that risk on booking the big venue, which I would encourage, like always take the risk, make sure that you can back yourself up in terms of marketing and you've got the support from venues or friends or people that you know that can help.
Yeah, and with the big venues, the cost is such because it comes with some of that support already nailed onto it. If you're looking at doing, I mean, where we sit in the kind of ecosystem is, we don't shut our venues privately ever, and that's a conscious decision really, because we are a community space. And if one day you turn up and it's shut, because we want people to network and socialise.
We want people to stumble across the thing that you're putting on, basically. Like, we want people to always access the stuff that they didn't know that was on. So they might come in one night and there's an art class or an exhibition. They might come in the next night and it'd be a film screening of like a new film. The same with live gigs, the same with like monologues or stand-up comedy. Like, we want to make sure that people can just stumble across that, which I think is a beautiful thing that nowhere else really does. It's about closing off the venue and only the people that know about it are coming to it. Whereas with us, people come to the venue because they don't know what to expect each night. They can come in, and that's very much like on TripAdvisor, on Google reviews, and on just general word of mouth in the city. Like, oh, you go to the Arts Bar one night, you might get this, you might get that the next night. And I think that's really cool in terms of an event that you run.
100%. I think it's just not the natural way of doing it, or the kind of common way of doing it. I think to counteract that, what we've done this year, quite successfully really, is the venue hire is free. A lot of like gig venues, there is a cost, which is obviously you've got to cover putting a bar person on, having a sound technician, being open. Because we don't charge for the hire of the venue, we ask that you don't exclusively close the venue, and we'll provide a technician, we'll provide all the backline, we'll provide
support marketing,
anything that you want, but you can't shut it. What we can do is we've started some pay what you can schemes. Yeah. So we've worked quite close with the Creative Wire, and you can set up a ticket link that is tiered ticketing, so it can be at £1, £2, £3, £4, £5, and if you sell it well on the night, and there's people in, and you're chatting to them and explaining why you're doing this gig, whether it's, listen, this band are releasing an EP next year and they want a bit of money to go towards it. If you've got anything that you want to give towards it, there's a QR code printed out on the bar or on one of the walls.
There's QR codes all over the place, isn't there? And then people are directed towards scanning the QR code and donating what they can to the event. And people might donate £1, they might donate £20, and it might be that it's one of those things. And like I'm saying before, those people that stumble across it, you might get 2 people that have got off a cruise ship at the docks, come all the way up to Hope Street, come in, and there's this new music gig on, and they are passionate about grassroots music and new stuff, and they've come across, seen a new band, been really keen on what's going on in the night, and then they leave 40 quid. But actually, if you'd have done it where it was a ticketed event and you only had 2 tickets bought, the same 2 people, but the tickets were a £5, you've made a tenner. And like, it works both ways, doesn't it? And it's always about looking at that silver lining and going, this is how good it could be if we do it this way. And it's something we're trialing, and I think it's a good idea.
It's been going all right. Obviously, it's mixed success, and everything is. I mean, even ticketed gigs are at mixed success. And the only difficulty is not having that like exact number, I suppose.
Yeah. So in terms of forecasting and planning in terms of your events, I totally appreciate that. But actually, you've got minimal outgoings in terms
trying
of venue.
To make the outgoings absolutely nothing, basically, for you to come.
You have got to make sure that the artists are supported in terms of that's where we generate the income from back.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then in terms of kind of the second part to that question, in terms of working with other people, it all comes from just going to other gigs or going outside of your comfort zone. I think I've had this conversation with a couple of our regular like events promoters, saying, look, why is it quiet and why do I struggle and this person never comes? And I've always kind of said, well, do you go to their events? And if the answer's no, go and talk to them and say, look, I'm doing a similar thing here. Either should we buddy up or should we cross promote, or, you know, it's like we always talk about the Fringe, but if you'd go and exit flyer shows that were similar to yours that people might enjoy. So if you're an acoustic artist,
you go and watch that show before you exit flyer the show.
Talk to the people.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the point though, isn't it? You'd go and watch that show, talk to them after the show and be like, oh, show's really similar to your show, we're talking about similar things. They might come and watch your show, but then you can say, do you mind if we exit flyer when people come out your show and give everyone, if you liked that, you'll enjoy this. And if you get pally with those people, they might put your flyers on the seats, so when people go in, the flyers are already in there, so you're already catching that audience. But it's about supporting other people and talking to them.
The amount of gigs that I've got out of just being at the right place at the right time just being around and saying, this is what I do, what do you do? Oh, that's great. Well, if you ever need anything, give me a shout. 6 months later, you might get a shout saying, oh, you said you did this. Do you mind supporting us? Do you mind? Whatever it is. I mean, I've been playing the cajon with a few people in the last couple of weeks. I'm not really a drummer, but I've kind of done bits and...
He's always banged a box.
Always up for it. And it's been great. It's good, and it just keeps you in the circle. I mean, Mike's in the game anyway. He knows all this, but I think there's more than one way to do it. And I think if anyone's out there and wants to come and have a conversation with me about any events, just drop us a message and come and have a chat. We'll put anything on. I'm quite happy to host anything, and if it's going to help you get on the ladder to booking the Phil, booking the Jack, come and try it.
We want to be that springboard, don't we?
Yeah, we should be the way that you can trial ideas out without necessarily risking it.
In a safe environment, yeah.
And everyone's friendly, and people will be honest with you. Don't get me wrong. You still need to bring it. You still need to have a product that people want to see, but they'll be friendly, they'll be supportive, they'll be constructive. And I think it's a real good way to go, do you know what? Let's tweak the idea of that a little bit. Yeah. Let's have a think about, actually, them acts didn't necessarily work together, so maybe if we program these with these and these with these, that'd work a bit better. But you've got a free stab, and I mean, we do the Arts Bar Live, which is always, I almost flip that idea on its head. So with Arts Bar Live, I try and book 3 artists that aren't the same genre. Yeah. Because we film a lot of the Arts Bar Lives, it's almost like an open film session. It means that I can get away with not necessarily programming it like you would a normal gig. Yeah. So you kind of want the gig to rise a little bit. You want to start off a little bit slower generally and build your way up.
Cool.
From my point of view, I flip that on.
That's how you curate it.
That's how I curate Arts Bar Lives. But it's also good to come and watch them, because you might experience something that you've never listened to before. We had a classical violinist guy on the other week next to a folk singer, next to a rock band, and you're like, it don't happen.
No,
so it's
cool.
good to come and meet each other and do it that way. So cool. I hope that answered
good
it a bit.
Good.
Everything's different, basically.
Question 2.
Now, this is from Cher. The lovely Cher that used to work for us. She's an amazing singer. Is it still our most watched reel when she sang?
It was, wasn't it? She sang
Erykah Badu.
She did, yeah. She did. At a jazz night. It was cool. It was our most watched reel on Instagram
until mine last week.
Time. Yeah, maybe until Tom's last week. If anyone tuned into that, where it was when you say it's your first day, but you're actually the owner. You did well. A lot of people commenting on your smile.
I'm going to start a TikTok.
You should.
Yeah.
Use the platform.
Cher asks. Now, this is a difficult question in terms of there's lots and lots of answers to this, I think. But we'll do our best. Okay. I consulted Ben earlier a bit about it, so did you. Rough stuff. So, Cher's asked, I'd love to hear roughly outlines of creating a bar. Okay. So licenses, how much it roughly costs in the beginning, how long it took from starting your action plan to opening your doors, the general kind of opening of a bar. So I think we'd probably be best to focus on the Baltic, really.
Yeah, I think there's two different. I think before we go into anything else, I think if you're ever thinking about opening a bar or opening a venue, I think now more than ever, it is so important to have a strong concept.
Yeah.
So I think there's so much competition for hospitality in city centres, or even when you go back to sort of small town villages, they've all got cool, quirky places, and people go oh, we go there for this, we go there for live music, we go there for, they do this pizza that's everything's like speciality, or do you know what I mean? They've all got their thing.
It's definitely not just city centres, is it, anymore? It's not like maybe 20 years ago when you'd be in a village and it'd be 2 pubs and a restaurant.
Yeah.
Actually, there's craft beer shops, there's a gig venue.
100%.
There are things popping up everywhere.
But so. I think now more than ever, it's really key to have that strong concept of why you want to offer what you're going to offer. So, obviously, Arts Bar, the premise, we sell beer, we sell wine, we sell cocktails, we sell food. We sell coffees, and food's coming here. But that is all a side thing to actually wanting to support grassroots artists. So having a stage, having wall space, having event space that's available, and it being a platform and space to support grassroots artists. And actually the food and drink and coffee is a side thing. And a lot of people always talk to me you don't see a lot of the offerings that we have on socials, and actually because what you want to promote is what the space is being used for. and that's our concept, is that we are a bar, but it's a bar to promote creatives of all kinds. And through opening a bar, we've been able to then go and open rehearsal spaces and studio spaces and performance spaces that you can do like theatre shows and downstairs, more sort of black box. But actually everything that we do when we develop is all about the creative side of the thing, less about the hospitality
and
side.
That's a line you've got to toe quite cleverly with the event, with the marketing.
Yeah.
Because you could just pump out, like some of the big corporations do, deals like
deals,
Steak Tuesday, all that kind of stuff that
Yeah.
you see from pubs and big bars. But that's not really what we're in this business for. It's just a supplement.
But I think you have to have that. You have to have that strong concept, and you look at a lot of the pubs going in now, like White Hart across the road. We went to Monroe the other day. The Vines, like there is a market there for old pub.
He's got Alma the Cuba now as well.
Amazing. But there is he has a really distinct thing for an old pub style, and obviously there's a want and a need for people going, I want to go to an old cozy pub, and he's managed to really fine craft these new venues and making them look like, and they're really interesting visually to look at. I know that the guys have got Emily's in Formby, and they've opened Penelope's in
That's
Birkdale.
almost the opposite, isn't it? It's been like
really,
so
really
clean
Instagrammable,
and crisp.
visually exciting. You look at it, they're colourful, they're floral, but they're all about the colour pop and visually like interesting, but also then having a really, really exciting hospitality offering. So I think that's the first thing I'd say, is that before you go and try and get a loan, before you go and try and get the keys to somewhere, and you look at spaces, it's in your head, know the concept and know what it is you're trying to do, and know why you want to do that. Then go and look at the space, and does that space fit what it is that I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to do?
Practically with the space, in terms of like licenses, the actual premises has got to have a premises license, so it's got to be licensed to sell alcohol, if that's what you. If we're talking about a bar.
If you were to then look at a space that's used to be a bar and it's closed down, or you're buying somewhere that is a current bar, they will already have a current license in place. And if you were looking at taking a warehouse over and turning it into like a rave venue, you'd have to then go and apply for a brand new license.
And it's not always a done deal with licenses.
No.
If it doesn't already have a premises license, there's every possibility, if it's oversaturated in the area, the council could within their right, and rightly so, reject it. So you've got to be sure that where you're doing it is the right place. I mean, both our sites currently, they've always had a license, or for the past since the most recent licensing act has been a thing, they've had licenses, so we've been quite fine with that on that sense.
Cool.
It also needs someone with a personal license. So it needs someone that's done a licensing course and has a personal license, which means that their name can go on the door basically as a landlord. And that's all. Again, that's not always a given. You've got to do a course, you've got to pay for it, you've got to do all that kind of thing. So if you're starting from scratch, literally, they are things that right at the bottom of the ladder you've got to consider.
So then you're into sort of costs. Did it say costs and things like that in there? So if you were to Google average costs of opening a new bar, it comes up at like 150 grand. Now we have like two totally different scenarios here where we've spoke before on the podcast about how bespoke actually opening Hope Street was, and it was a completely different way. I've never spoke to anyone else who's gone, oh yeah, that's how we opened our venue, and it was very much like right place, right time. It worked for both parties in terms of us and the other guys, and we did it on a shoestring, but actually our weekly costs were really high in terms of like a sublet situation. So we probably can't give an actual cost of what that one was. Now, actually, in terms of opening the Baltic, that was like a new venue from scratch that we ripped out, fitted out again, kitchen stuff in, you're buying all the equipment, all the utensils, all the tables and hardware, fixtures and fittings.
Which, tables and chairs?
Yeah, we've got a thing for tables and chairs and how expensive they are.
How expensive they are.
But obviously when so it's not just like your living room or your kitchen at home. It's like durable stuff that is getting used all day by different people when people have had a drink. So it's got to be really durable stuff that you buy. Otherwise, it rips or breaks and snaps, and you learn that the hard way, don't you?
You do, and you also want to make it comfortable because it needs to be a nice place for people to sit at the end of the day. I mean, we've gone through very, very, very many variations of Hope Street. Different chairs, different tables, and it just it takes a bit of you getting used to knowing what's right.
Now, to give you a bit of an insight into the Baltic, the Baltic cost us about 100 grand to open, which is a lot of money. Not to frighten you away from running with your dreams and things like that. Now, it's you know, if you have a bit of a track record, or if you have someone that sort of is working on it with you, and you've got the opportunity to borrow the money. That was done on like a personal loan basis.
So it was a new starter, wasn't
new business
it? It was a government-backed business loan.
Yeah.
And personally guaranteed, which is again, that's one of the
scary
things. Not easy to
do as well if you like got property and things like that, which for us is the same situation. So yeah, it costs around £100,000, and that is ripping the venue out, all the building works, the stripping the floors back, the building of the structures that go into it, the kitchen, ripping that out, buying new equipment, buying tables, chairs, staging, all that equipment for a stage, everything. Your first order of booze, your first order of food, plates, knives, forks, like
toilet
everything.
Rolls,
yeah,
literally
there's things you don't think about that cost. So it cost us that. And the turnaround time, so actually from like the initial meeting, I'd say we met in like August, September with the venue, and then we didn't actually open till the March. So there's a lot of like legal sides that goes on in terms of the lease and getting the venue, and that took for us from August till well, actually initial viewing was August, and then meeting with the venue, the owners and the property managers was like end of September, and then October, November, December was genuinely just a legal back and forth, wasn't it, in terms of making sure everything was right venue wise.
Partly that time of year is difficult as well.
Which some people might have different experiences, and it's like a really quick turnaround, and some people might have ones where it took longer than 3 months. But for us with the Baltic, it was like that was how long that took in terms of legals. And then we actually got the keys in sort of mid-January. And we were open mid-January, and we were open first week of March.
Yeah.
So it was about 6-7 weeks in terms of turnaround. Now you've got to then like make sure that in those 3 months where you're sort of like leading into getting the keys, you are lining up like your electrician coming in, your plumber coming in. We had like this. The floors got sanded, so everything needed ripping out, and then the floors got sanded back completely. Then they get stained and varnished, and that takes 2 to 3 days to be treated. So no one can be on site. So then you've got to organise the electricians not be on site, and the plumber not to be on site. And no equipment to be delivered because you'll have nowhere to put it, and it'll be on the street. So it's about the logistics of how you organise that stuff. Then actually just the graft in terms of the painting and organise. We obviously have Molly who does all of our mural stuff and all our designs, making sure she can fit into that time period. And you've got those months where you're doing the legals to sort of get your plan organised for when you're opening. And that obviously comes with its hiccups where, maybe the job takes longer than you thought it would, or someone drops out of a job and you have to go then find a new person and they might not be able to start it for 2 weeks. Loads of things happen in that sort of sense.
A lot of things have to line up on the right day at the right time.
Yeah.
And then, if you're getting chairs delivered before you've done knocking down the walls, and they're just going to get ruined, and you have to clean them again. So you've got to think logistically about. That's quite an obvious one, but there's so many things that, again, we've made these mistakes many times.
We were only talking today about getting equipment. We're getting the plumber in before the equipment comes, and then actually your plumber's got nothing to plumb into, and like just common sense stuff that you think that you wouldn't miss, but people do miss. So you've got to make sure that time is spent organising the actual build and the fit out. Then speaking to your sort of suppliers, and you're getting a good deal with your brewery and your different suppliers, and your food down the Baltic was like totally new for us. So working with new sort of catering and food companies, buying the equipment that you needed, the right equipment that you needed for a kitchen we'd never had to do before. So it was about learning that sort of stuff. Now a lot of this stuff you can learn on YouTube. you can do a lot of this stuff on TikTok, YouTube, and learn as much as you can, and podcasts and reading. Now the other way I would say is that it's very much like when you're doing a show. Some people are better than other people at certain jobs, and you wouldn't design the set yourself. You wouldn't do the graphic design work yourself. You wouldn't, if you're not a musician, you wouldn't do the music yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, so get the right people in to do the right jobs, and it'll make your life a lot easier.
Yeah, 100%. And I think if you're ever really seriously thinking about it, I think really scrutinise your budget before you do anything. I know that we had a budget of about 100 grand, and we'd spent far too much of it in the first week, so I had to scale back on certain things.
Yep. We had to scale, and then actually we were over budget. We had to borrow from from other companies, and then we actually then had to get open faster than we wanted to get open for, because we knew that once we were open, we could start selling drinks, selling food.
We had to borrow against ourselves. We had to borrow against Hope Street's bar.
Yeah.
Which then obviously it took a massive chunk out of Hope Street's kind of.
So then you've got to make sure Hope Street's running well. But yeah, it's about really, really fine tuning that budget, and things will happen where you go like, oh, those chairs were out of stock, so I've had to buy them, and they were a little bit more expensive, so it eats into your budget, and it's all about timing and stuff like that, isn't it? And
then just backing yourself that you're gonna we've nearly bottled so many things in the past, but actually going,
take a risk.
We have to do this.
Yeah.
No option, but you just got to back yourself. We were talking about it today, really, weren't we? About going to have to do that. Now, however we make that up in the future is just going to have to happen.
Yeah.
There's no way we can't do that now.
It's really interesting, and it sounds really daunting, and they're big numbers, but it's a risk that if you want to take it, it's worth taking, and if you're passionate about it.
I mean, 5 years ago, if someone said to you, "This is going to cost 100 grand," we just wouldn't have gone anywhere near it. But I think you learn to go, actually, that's not actually a real £100,000. That's been kind of moved around and borrowed, and
you borrow it, and then you obviously have to take it out of weekly, and it's not like you borrow 100 grand and you have to pay 100 grand back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or at the end of the week, it's like you have to factor it into your budget and go like, right, okay, next we're going to make this much money, and staffing's going to cost this, and stock costs this. So you just have to make sure that you're proportioning all of your profit when you start out to paying back what you've borrowed.
Totally. If anyone is interested, I think that government-backed start loan, new business loan, is definitely worth looking.
In a link somewhere if anyone's interested.
They were really helpful. The interest was the lowest we could find. It's not like extortionate like some of the big banks. Just for the nature of what they are and what business they are, then you're going to be paying back so much more.
I think
money.
I think on the link, if we put it out, we rang up, didn't we, and asked for advice on it.
Yeah, and
it wasn't just like click the link and apply here. It was like ring us and we'll talk to you about it. And you have to then go like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to start a coffee shop that's like sort of express coffee, and it does and they'll talk to them, and then they'll go, right, okay, and what are your predicted profits? What you do? They'll do it all with you. So it's not as daunting as
a business plan, and makes you do like projections and stuff. Oh, find that bloke on Instagram that just gives people money when he says, "What's your idea?"
Yeah. And don't just do AI.
I'll do.
Don't just do AI.
Whatever.
Have a bit of something and be creative. And
I think the strong concept's the first one. Then looking into whether you could live it and breathe it and
because it's going to take every ounce of you, honestly. Like, it's going to take everything from you to be there all day, and you've got to live it and breathe it, and to live it and breathe it, you've got to love it.
Yeah.
So,
and then find the money from wherever you find it from, and use it wisely, and just make sure you're very reserved in how you do it, and have a go.
And obviously, that 100 grand is like a scale, isn't it, in terms of the size of what the Baltic is. I'm not saying it's going to cost you 100 grand to open a little small sort of like wine bar or a coffee shop or even a small music venue. It's not going to. That's not the same. It's based on the size of the venue but you obviously have to work out what things are going to cost you before you open, and factor that into your profits.
100%. Very well put on.
Thanks, mate.
So if you've got any more questions, we've got a few more that we're going to answer next week. Got any more, please message them in. Email at info@liverpoolartsbar.com or Instagram or Facebook, or if you know us
It's
personally.
Ros Merkin.
Drop
Dr.
us a
Ros,
message.
if you see her in the shot, a book's on the shelf in the library, come in and give it a read about the history of the everyman.
Shall we wrap it up there?
Yeah,
All right, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
yeah. I'm going on holiday.